everyone. Welcome back to the Band of Brothers podcast. I'm Elton. This is Andy, as always.
Hello.
And we have the breaking point in front of us. This is my favourite episode of the whole lot, I think. We've reached it, I feel.
This is, for me, it is a great episode.
Yeah.
It might even be the best episode. But there are so many, if I could use the vernacular of the kids these days, so many feels in the episode. I don't think I could. I'm glad I know that because I will be using that. But now I know. But my point is, I don't think I can call it my favourite because there was some gut punches in here, and the bit at the end with the choir. I know I'm skipping it, but it's possibly the best episode, but I can't call it my favourite.
Okay. That makes sense. I would say it is my favourite. It's not the one I've seen the most of, though. We'll get to that when that comes around. But this is almost 2 episodes rolled into one. I think it's the longest episode that they have.
It's almost a feature-length episode, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They try to cram so much in there. And it does feel like a 2-parter thrown into one whole episode. There's so much going on. Just so much.
Everything goes on, and it's wow, yeah. This is the you could almost say it's the last hurrah for the Easy Company that we knew since Normandy.
Well, yeah, Easy Company is not Easy Company by the end of this episode, is it?
What does he say? 147 go in, 65 came out.
Something like that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
it's just so much going on.
145 went to the Bastogne, only 63 left.
Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know how to compute that. That's it. It's so scary.
I'll tell you what though. To the applaud the producers and the filmmakers and everything. You feel it though. I mean, you properly feel those hits. Both. When the whole Luger incident. I mean, we've been talking about the Luger incident for a few episodes now. But I mean, when it finally gets here, and it's such a huge deal, but it's kind of done and over so quickly. You just don't really have time to process it.
Mm.
And then later on as well, when Joe comes back and everything going on with Garnier and all that, it's just, and Buck, oh man, there's just so many gut punches in this episode. But again, that ending, it's just like people who glamorize war, people who go around, going, I want to play soldiers, and I get that, Band of Brothers as a whole is celebrating these very, very brave individuals who fought in a very just cause. But this episode, maybe even more than Bastogne, really kind of drives home why war is not fun.
Mm.
War is not something anyone should aspire to do. War is not something that you should think is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel today war is glamorized like that because of the Call of Duties and Modern Warfares and Medal of Honors, etc. It's just too easy to find a war game and jump into it. And most of them are brilliant. Battlefield 1 is just intense. And yet I know I wouldn't last 2 seconds. And it just highlights this.
Have you seen that film with Tom Cruise? What is it called? Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes.
I would literally be Tom Cruise at the beginning of that film. I'd be dead within 30 seconds. Just, there you go.
Yeah, what's going on? Oh, okay. Yeah, just taken out. Yeah, this one has got so many moments in it where there's so many storylines that we've been following throughout the course of this show so far that come to either an abrupt end here or just hit home so hard in such a beautiful way.
This is definitely the end of the second act, if you will. We are now at the end of, when you talk about the 3-act structure in films, sort of thing. This is the bit right before you get into that final downhill slope towards the end.
Yeah.
And this is it. This is the big end of second act sort of bit. The all is lost moment.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if this wasn't based on true events, you'd never imagine they would allow so many characters to be killed off or written out at this point.
Do you know what? That is one of the hard things about this, because there are characters that are removed or are killed, and you think, well, hang on, no, quite enjoying that person.
Yeah.
As if they're kind of really breaking through, or I don't know, I suppose we'll talk about it later, but one of the guys gets removed from that, or he had a story in the last episode. You think, oh, do you know what? I'm coming quite attached to that. And it's just bang, gone. That's it. Yeah. No more. You're like, yeah.
And it does some, I mean, there's some bits in there as well where they kind of throw you a dummy where you think, oh, things are finally turning around for that character. Oh, it's working out. Like, oh, no. No.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Right.
I mean, I'll tell you what, let's just very briefly. So I don't think we're going to go through this scene by scene, because I don't think my constitution could take it. But let's just set a scene, shall we? Where are we?
Well, let's do talking heads first before anything else.
Ah, yes, your infamous talking heads.
Yeah.
Your heads are talking.
Yes. There are some that I'm starting to recognise now and trying to piece together who it is and who it might be. I don't want to give away anything on that, because I guarantee you I'm wrong. If any, my predictions throughout the whole year, and especially with you and certain other podcasts that we do together, my predictions blow and suck at the same time. And so I'm not giving away any ideas on to who I think is who, but they're talking about that they've seen death, and they're talking about the way that it changes them dramatically, and you can see it in their eyes that they're not just speaking the words, they're living it through their eyes as they're telling you. And
there's definitely a couple of shaky voices there, and fighting back some tears.
Yeah, and on this side of the screen as well, I tell you.
I don't doubt it, mate.
Yeah, well, when they're talking about death all over the place, they're just talking about bodies. People, dead people, there, here, there, and everywhere. And it really sets up this episode to, okay, yeah, they're talking about dead bodies. You're going to see a lot of them, or you might not find them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once again, they hit home. Honestly, I can't wait for the end episode where we get to find out who's who.
Yeah. Finally, we have captions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like it because it still keeps you guessing as to who's going to make it through. If they told you that this person made it through or that person made it through, then there wouldn't be any, or you might lose a bit of the suspense.
It would. I think it would definitely hurt the drama to a certain extent. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we? We're 2nd of January, 1945, in the Ardennes forest in Belgium.
We're just above the town of Foy.
This is a carry-on from the Battle of the Bulge, isn't it?
Yes, it's still part of what was or came to be known as the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
Towards the end, it's kind of like the last push to try and get the Germans back across the Rhine. It pretty much follows straight on from Bastogne. Like this is still part of that same action.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been pretty much following this for 3 episodes now, haven't we? Starting at Crossroads.
Yeah, that was when we started diving into it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, it feels so long ago as well.
Right, it has been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it has been. But yeah, it's such a, even for like hour blocks of TV, it still feels such a journey that we've been on. It feels like we've been in this forest forever already.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And every time I watch this, once again, I know it's on a film stage, but it still looks bloody cold. It still looks so realistic. If anything, this episode looks more realistic.
It does, but at least they finally got their winter clothing.
Yeah, not not a lot though, and not everyone either, because
No.
Well, we see Dyke just rubbing it in at some points as well, don't we?
Well, that's because Dyke is and people of sensitive ears would probably turn their ears away now. He's such a massive cunt.
He is. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I'll let you say that.
Look, sorry. After last week with Josh, we were talking about and everything, and I mean, look, stuff happens in this episode to Dyke, which under other circumstances I might be more forgiving of.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he straight up got people killed and didn't seem to care.
Oh yes, yeah.
So yeah, there was a definite. He can go ye forth and fornicate with himself.
Yeah, too right. Oh, once again, thank you very much to Josh for joining us for last week as well. I know that he wanted to be on this one as well, but he had a wedding and other things to go to, so that it just wasn't. We weren't able to get our stars aligned.
The stars could not align, alas.
Yeah,
no,
because we know he's still got some energy ready to kick in Dyke and give him a big nutsack kick. So, yeah,
Well, I'll tell you what. If you listen to this, Josh, send us some feedback and we'll play it next week.
There we go.
Or next episode, even.
Yeah. So, should we get around to the Luger? Because this is the main crux of the very first opening of this episode, isn't it?
Well, actually, I'll say just before we get to that, the Luger, one of the first things that kind of came to mind when we were watching this, because remember we spoke last time about Buck.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was crying in his foxhole, his girlfriend had left him, and, he just hadn't been the same. My first thought while watching this was, it looks like Buck's got his shit back together.
Right, okay. Do you know what?
I
didn't even think about
that. At the beginning, when they're all like, they're using malarkey to read a map.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of goofing around and playing and everything. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a bit like the old Buck.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was nice.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, he did look a bit more collected and with it at one stage. And yeah, the guys, maybe it is the warmer clothing and getting a bit of ammo and hot food in you as well. And
yeah,
they've bonded together a little bit more.
It just seemed like they'd gotten used to being there now.
Yeah.
I maybe the worst of the winter had passed or whatever it was, or the worst of the fighting, whatever. But the point is, they all seemed a bit more like the easy company we'd seen just after Normandy and everything like that. The ones we've been playing. The camaraderie was there. There was no more Normandy veterans and replacements. There was just easy company, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was just a nice little touch there at the beginning there. But as you say, we've got to talk about the Luger incident with Hobler.
Yeah.
Who he's been talking about this since literally Curehe, hasn't he?
Right, yeah, he's been talking about it, trying to get it for his younger brother, I'm sure it was.
No, he wanted one for himself. It was another one wanted it for his younger brother. But Hobler, I think, Hubler, was the one who tried to steal the one from the British soldier at the in Curehe.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Yep.
In the first episode, he grabs it and he goes to walk off and he goes, "You having a laugh there, mate?"
Yeah, the great British accent.
Just for you, yeah.
You're having some sort of bubble, aren't you? Give him back the Luger.
You're having a bubble and squeak.
I love it. I wish we actually did speak like that. That would be amazing.
Reminds me of a bit out of Austin Powers. And he shat on a tortoise.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, he's been going on and on and on and on about a Luger. And basically they encounter an SS officer on horseback all of a sudden. Doing his impression of Robin Hood riding through the glen. And then all of a sudden this patrol comes out, points a gun at you. You do whatever any good German soldier does and just turns around and tries to ride away in a straight line. Obviously going to the Rickon school of evading.
Or the Vickers as well.
Yeah. But still, one shot, and he went down like a sack of spuds. Although I will say, I noticed as he falls off the horse, he does reach up and hold his helmet on so it doesn't fall off.
Well, you don't want to bash your head, do you?
Well, it's true. He's got a hole through it, but he had the wherewithal to hold his helmet on as he fell off.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, he doesn't want to go, oh, no. I just had some bad sentences come into my head and I just reined them back in. No, that was really bad. No, I'm not going to go down
to the dark side.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it this time round. No way.
Right. Okay. So he finally gets his Luger, and he looks literally like the cat who's got the cream, opening his presents on Christmas, and then does a particularly stupid thing of chambering around.
Yeah, what the crap is all that about?
He does fire that round off, which is pretty stupid in of itself, but yeah, he's got a loaded Luger that he's walking around with.
Distinctive crack to it as well.
Yes, I'll just point out to our American listeners, you might not be aware. Over here in the UK, we don't really have guns here. You know, it's just not part of our culture as such. But even I know well enough that unless you're using the gun, you shouldn't probably keep the ammo in it.
Yeah. Well, I suppose for our wonderful American listeners, because we do have quite a few, guns are an everyday occurrence, really. From our very British standpoint,
very British. Yeah.
Everyone and their baby carries a gun in America from our very British standoff, and so I suppose it's just natural, just got a gun, we'll fire. That could have been anyone. There could have been anyone down them trees. There's a lot of fog around there as well, and it just pops off around, pops a cap in one's arse at some point. But yeah. With us being British or English or whatever you want to call it, guns, I wouldn't go anywhere near one. I know he's after a Luger, but firing off a round like that, especially when everyone else around you is just shit hot at any gunfire whatsoever.
But he's also walking around evidently without the safety on this thing.
Yeah. Right, okay, silly question. I'm assuming that Lugers have safeties.
I'm almost 100% sure they would. Yeah. I'm going to Google that, however.
Yeah, I think it might be worth checking that out just in case, because nobody actually mentions about safety.
Luger pistol. Yes, there is a safety.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, basically, he's got his Luger, so he does what any proud marksman would do, and he's going from foxhole to foxhole, showing off.
Yep.
Which is quite funny because. We should mention this episode is all from the perspective of First Sergeant Lipton.
Yeah.
And, he's kind of narrating. It's almost as if he's reciting a diary throughout. And he's there and he's helping. He's helping Shifty Powers with his foxhole?
Yeah, he's helping Shifty digging a foxhole, yes.
So Shifty Powers, who is he's like the marksman of the Easy Company, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he the I do declare guy? He is, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
And he's got the white cover on the helmet as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one. Then he's just got a cool name, Shifty Powers. But, Hobler's there. Yeah, I think partly it's showing off, but I think it's also a little bit of... he wants some acknowledgement that, hey, you're a good shot. Well done. A little pat on the head. Well done, that man. And then, he kind of, goes off to another foxhole and all that. And as they're going out there sort of thing, you hear a gunshot go off somewhere. And they'll go, where is it coming from? Sniper, what's all this going on? And then you just hear, he's been shot! And they come over and find him, and he's lying there, and he's shoved his fucking Luger down his pants, and it's gone off. And that's not a euphemism.
Well, it's the tiny crack that goes along with it. So with the distance that he's walked as well, you've got the crack of gunfire, but you've also got, it doesn't sound, it's a very timid crack, isn't it? from where they're sat.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't seem like it's not like the big explosions we're used to.
As Shifty says, it's not a rifle. Yeah. He recognises it's not a rifle that's just gone off.
Yeah. And so he's ended up shooting himself through the leg, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's shot himself in the leg. And it's weird. It's one of those things where it probably didn't seem like a big, okay, stupid guy just shot himself in the leg. But, people survive that. That's not the be all and end all. That's not necessarily the end of the world. But, they all come over there and, he's awake, he's conscious, he's a bit, I've shot myself in the leg, and all that sort of thing. And they're shouting for the doctor to get there and everything, and they're waiting for him to go. But he's just getting slower and slower and quieter and quieter.
And whiter as well.
And then the doc arrives and he gets the whole tourniquet going on the leg and all this. And, he's trying to find the bullet or to close the artery or whatever because he's severed the femoral artery in his leg. And and it's painful because he just fades away. It's not like the other ones where, you hear the crack and they go down. Or they're shot and they're quiet. No, he was there talking and he I think his last words were, "It was a good shot, right?"
It reminded me of Saving Private Ryan when they attacked the radar station.
And the medic gets shot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I know he had some morphine and he slowly slipped away and he was doing the mama type thing. And it was very reminiscent of that as well. And last week or last episode, we've seen the doc trying to get veins and arteries in other people's bodies, and we've seen the frustration of that, and yet he's still there trying to do it and trying to get there, and once again, just a losing battle. What did I hear? I heard about the arteries. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what I was. I was watching a program about motor racing, right? And it was about Alex Zanardi losing his legs when he had his crash, and they said, when you either lose your legs or get a puncture on one of them arteries, imagine filling up a bucket full of blood and then popping a hole into it and then trying to stem that flow of blood. That is how quickly the blood would just disappear out there.
Wow,
It's just crazy quick. It's like turning a tap on. And it seems it is such a senseless, for the guys around him, it's such a senseless waste. And what a shit way to go.
Oh, yeah. And especially after everything he survived and all that. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've been through all this stuff and then you stick a gun down your trousers and stick a hole in your leg. And that's it. You're done. Your story is over. Seems so sad.
Yeah. Such a senseless waste.
Yeah. So Lipton ends up with the Luger now at this point, doesn't he?
Lipton takes the Luger and, he just has it. He's just keeping hold of it. He has to go and report to Winters. And we start getting our first. So where's Lieutenant Dyke?
Yeah. This is going to be. He's a fucking enigma, that guy. He really is. He's like a fucking ghost. And I know that Lipton turns around and says that he's an empty
uniform.
Empty uniform. That was it. Yeah. And he's so right, because before this Luger goes off, we get a hint of that, of where's Dyke, and nobody knows where Dyke is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so Lipton, so how comes Lipton has to report it to Winters then?
Well, as the first sergeant, he is in effect, I suppose, the, I don't want to say the executive officer, but he is like the head. So the way that the company is done into platoons, you have an officer leads each of the platoons, and they have a sergeant themselves.
Yeah.
But as the first sergeant, he's kind of responsible for the entire company.
Yeah.
So yeah, he will. He went and reported to him. Maybe he is the XI. I don't really know how at this point they're structured. But yeah, he's going and reporting it. And again, he's a model of diplomacy for the most part. He refused to say a bad word against him, at least early into it.
Yeah.
And he's very much just, I was there, I took care of it. There you go.
This is what I love about Lipton, though. Mm-hmm. The way that his character flows throughout this episode. It's rock steady all the way through. He won't have any bad words said about anyone, no matter who it is. Mm-hmm. And yet, in the same way, he will big up everyone at exactly the same time. And I just love that attitude towards everything, even though it is Dyke. Mm-hmm. And he gets to put his opinion across to Winters about Dyke. Yeah. And yet, Winters knows exactly what he's trying to get at, and he knows it's futile, but he's said his piece. He probably has got it in his head that, okay, well, I can't do anything about it, but at least I've said something.
Well, yeah, there's definitely that. I mean, I think the situation we have with Dyke, and I think Winters alludes to it later on, is Dyke is only there. He's someone's favourite up at battalion. Mm. He's marked for greatness, as it were. He's going to be a staff officer or something like that. That's the plan. But they need to have some combat experience so they can progress to the next rank.
Yeah.
So before he can become a captain and everything, he needs a certain amount of combat experience. Incidentally, this is also what I think scuppered Sobel's career. Didn't have any combat experience, so he couldn't really progress. So what you have is someone said, oh, well, stick him with Easy Company or something like this. Or maybe not. Maybe it wasn't specifically Easy Company, but we'll stick him with a company, and Easy was just unfortunate to get stuck with him.
Do you think it would come down to points? Because we get to speak about them at a later date, don't we?
I don't think it was the points about getting home with Dyke.
Well, they earn points, don't they, for certain things?
They do earn points, but I think with Dyke being an officer coming from Battalion HQ, and certainly what Winter says, this was for a career thing. Yeah. This was for us. And I think with officers, it's slightly different to non-coms and just your general infantry. Yeah. So there's that. So Easy Company doesn't really want Dyke there, and Dyke doesn't want to really be there either. Mm. No one particularly wants to have this situation that we find themselves in. The problem is Dyke doesn't get himself out of this situation, in my estimation. He knows he's unsuitable for the role.
Yeah.
Which he should. And it's not a question of fear, at least not at this stage or anything like that. It's just generally just not being able to. He either needs to man up and do better, or get yourself out of that position, and let someone who can do it.
But maybe from the point of Dyke, he's just, okay, I need to go through this. I need to do 6 weeks of this, and then I can go. And he's just grinning and bearing it and trying to find the easiest way around it. He's always yawning.
Oh,
which
he's
suggests
definitely
sleeping somewhere.
Oh, he's definitely taking the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Always. And I think, was it this episode or the last episode where he says he's not a bad leader because he makes bad decisions. He's a bad leader because he makes no decisions.
Yeah.
He just doesn't do anything. His hell, just after they get shelled, his reaction is to Lipton, you take care of this, I'm going to go and report to battalion. And it's like, well, no, you should be here dealing with this, and you send a runner to battalion. You send the lowest of the low, the person who could be spared, to go and report. You don't, send the commander.
Well, what did we see after the engagement last episode?
Yeah. He just fucking running miles ahead of everyone, leaving people to die.
Fucking hell.
He's just he's less than scum. And okay, I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit now, but I need to talk about this now. It's later on. So he clearly gets PTSD during the final attack on Foy. You know,
Yeah.
it is the first time he's like been forced into combat, and there's no way out for him. Like, he can't run back to battalion because Colonel Sink, Captain Winters are up the tree line watching. He can't slip away. And you've got the shelling going on there. There's the sniper fire and everything. And again, don't get me wrong. You put me in that position, I'm going to fall apart quicker than you can say, Delhi. You know, it's just not going to work. But I'm not the fucking lieutenant in charge of a bloody company. And he gets there and he just freezes. Now, anyone else I'd have sympathy for. Buck has PTSD. I have sympathy for him because of everything he goes through and all that. But with Lipton, by the time he's gotten to that point, it's like you allowed yourself to get into that position. And then once you got yourself into that position, you got people killed because you even then refused to acknowledge the problem was you.
Yeah, Dyke, not Lipton. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Dyke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, Dyke done fucked up.
Yeah,
to put it bluntly.
Yeah, he should have pulled himself out knowing that he would be... Although, is he, in his own mind, costing people his lives? Because he's hardly there in any of the action. In the shelling...
Oh, no, I think you're right. I think he... I don't know if it was a deliberate thing, but he hasn't connected with anyone in Easy Company, has he?
Well, we see him try to connect with Lipton later on, don't we? And
well,
yet...
we see him talking with Lipton, but I don't think he's trying to connect.
Do you think he's just doing that just to say that he's there, you've seen me, we've had a conversation, and now I can disappear?
I don't even think it's anything quite as cynical as that. I think it's more he feels... It's an awkward silence moment, you know? It's two people standing in an elevator, effectively. And to just not acknowledge the other person is rude.
Right.
That sort of thing, you know? I don't know exactly what's going on there, but it was... I don't think Lipton was making Dyke was making a serious attempt to connect with Lipton. I think he was just not even making small talk. He was an automatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I always took that scene as he's there, he's doing a job, he's being seen, especially by Lipton, because Lipton seems to always be trying to find him. And he's made the approach, he's spoken about him, and then when the conversation turns about Dyke and where he has to spill something, he's already gone. He's done his job of showing his face.
Mm.
And then he's just disappeared. And then he's going off back to... I think he's got a massive nest or something. That's what it seems like anyway. He's probably feathered a nest somewhere and he's curling up.
The thing is, I don't... Well, you're right, because I don't think he goes back to battalion, because I'm pretty sure if Captain Winters and Captain Nixon saw him there all the time, they'd have chewed him out and sent him back.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, where does he go? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe when he was talking to Lipton, he told Captain Winters he was going back to the company. He told someone else of the company he was going to battalion. And he's in that awkward kind of middle space.
Yeah, he's halfway somewhere. He's built himself a little den. He's got a little den, a little front door, and he's feathered it, and it's lovely.
With a nice white
cozy.
picket fence down the middle.
Yeah, that's... yeah. Yeah. And a shrubbery. That's what I think he's doing anyway, so... But
yeah, I don't like to think that because it humanizes him, and I don't want to do that.
No, okay.
You know, like I said, he got people killed. Straight up, he did. He reminds me of General Melchett from Blackadder. Like, he seems to me like he's a connected person who is being fast tracked through the ranks to get to General, because, you know, his dad and some other dad, you know, went to the same school and they're all palling all this. And yeah, he wants to be the ones sending the men to die. He wants to be the one making the big decisions, getting all the glory. But he doesn't want to be anywhere near the front lines. That is the impression I get of Dyke. And yeah, I don't have any time for him.
Yeah, it does make you wonder though, because Lipton can see it, Winters can see it as well, Nixon can see it, and yet no one has any power to actually pull the cord and say, look, this is going to get people killed. It's not good for anyone. And you can see where Winters is going through all the other people that could be replacing him.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, everyone that he speaks about, was it Seamus or Shames?
Yeah.
He's the one who gets sent home eventually, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was the one who was shouting at everyone.
Yep. Peacock was getting everyone lost.
Yep.
And Compton as well.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't.
Yeah, Buck Compton.
I couldn't work out what the excuse was for Compton. It sounded as if
they said they wanted at least one experienced platoon lieutenant or officer.
Yeah.
They want, but again, I kind of, while I can understand that to an extent, I still think it would make, Dyke was doing so much damage. Swap him around if nothing else, but
yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, that's probably a good excuse as any. Let's talk about Buck for it, who I think he has the hardest time in this episode of everyone. And I include people killed, and I include Garnier and Toye and all this, but I think Buck's, it's the most tragic element, if you will.
Yeah.
Don't you? Because think back to when we first met Buck. He wasn't in Cure, was he? He was in the second episode, I think.
Day of Days.
I think it was Day of Days when we first see him. But I remember, maybe it was Cure. Because I remember Winter saying to him, never put yourself in a position where you can take from these men. Because you've been gambling with them.
That's right.
Being really friendly and everything. And again, this is back when a young Lieutenant Winters, says to him, and Buck was just young and full of energy and like his whole life in front of him, that sort of a thing,
Born leader as well.
Born leader, absolutely. And he was, so good all the way through to Holland. But then after he got shot, like we said, when he came back, he was different. Was a Garnier more serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you just see him he's taken apart piece by piece in this episode. Yeah. And it just, it's a gut punch what happens to him, everything that goes on. I mean, we saw at the end of the Bastogne one, he's kind of falling to pieces there a little bit already, but he's his girlfriend's left him and everything like that on Christmas, no less.
Well, he's breaking down at that point anyway. Remember when we saw the three heads with Garnier and I think it was Babe, and they were just shooting the shit. But maybe it was the weather that was getting to him as well. But he wasn't quite there, was he? He really wasn't. There was something missing. Yeah,
because you had they put a blanket over him and just like keep together. But yeah, you could tell he was broken. And like I said at the beginning of this, it seemed like he'd gotten past that. He seemed more like his old self at the beginning. But basically, he sees. Okay, we've got to talk about a couple of other people before we talk to this next bit. But Joe Troyer, who was wounded in the last episode, he got a bit of shrapnel, didn't he?
I'm trying to think what he got in the arm, wasn't it?
It was in the arm, yeah. He got some shrapnel, and he's snuck back, as is their want, because they don't want to leave the company, and he goes back. And all of a sudden, Buck's got the people he was closest to were Garnier,
Toye, and Malarkey, wasn't it?
Malarkey as well, yeah. And again, Malarkey and Garnier, and so during the shelling, Toye loses his leg, which is another horrible moment. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But he's doing, I got to get out of here. I got to get my helmet. I got to do that. And then Garnier's there, kind of just dragging him along. And I was almost screaming at the screen, like, just someone go and help him. Two men drag him back to a fucking foxhole. It's just like, and it would have been fine. But no, he's trying to do it. And then, they're getting towards Buck's foxhole. And just then, a shell airbursts by a tree, I think it is. And they both just go down. They're just lying there. They look dead. And you've got Buck just staggers out, and he's standing there. and he just drops his rifle. He takes his helmet off and drops down, and he can't even say the word medic at first.
Yeah,
his mouth just won't function. And then, that was it. He goes back to the, he's taken back to the aid station. The paperwork says it's for transfer, and you know that people like Lipton and Winters, they don't want him to have that stigma, I suppose, that is still prevalent today, but even back then, you had about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And, and again, people go and try and keep his spirits up, and someone's reading a letter to him from home, but, he just doesn't want to hear it. He just can't hear it. He can't hear people praising him and saying, oh, you're, doing great things. I'm sure you're teaching all these boys about your love of baseball and everything like this. No, it's just.
It's as if someone speaking to him is too much for him to take in.
I don't think it's speaking to him. I think it was the letter he was being read. I think it was from family or something, and they were saying positive things about him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's just everything. It's just he's hollow,
Yeah.
He's just It's like I said, it's so tragic when you look at. What it reminds me of. I'm going to go a little bit off base here.
Yeah.
You've seen Battlestar Galactica, haven't you? The reimagined series.
I have, yeah.
It reminds me of Lieutenant Gator in that. If you look at him in the first episode, the pilot, and then look at him at the end,
yeah,
and you go, how did this person get from here to here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that with Buck. It's like, how did we get from that, bright, young, full of life officer there to this guy here? And we know how it happened because we've watched it.
Yeah.
We followed it along. But it doesn't make it any easier.
No. Yeah, it's such a sad tale. It really is. See, he takes the brunt of that blast as well that takes down Garnier and Toye.
Mm-hmm.
And it just throws him back in the foxhole that he's got out of. And that's got to be a hefty hit straight away. But when he was in the aid station and the letters, I suppose you're right in saying that he doesn't want to hear praise. Because maybe, because he was such a massive character, maybe he feels like he's failed in his job.
I think that's probably part of it. It's probably he himself is full of a certain amount of self-loathing in that I should have been strong enough. I should have been able to save my friends, and it's just.
Yeah. See, have you ever been in shock? Have you ever had the wind knocked out of you, but without anything punching you? I've had it once that I can really notably remember, and it's very hard. I found it very hard to absorb anything else that was going on around me, and anything else was just painful noise that I didn't enjoy. And maybe it's the praise that he doesn't feel like he's entitled to, but also it's just too loud. No, I'm trying to get over what's just happened, what I've just seen in front of my eyes. I'm trying to process that. And anything else.
I totally get what you're saying, but I really don't think that's what they were going for at all.
Right.
I just don't get that. I think if that was an aspect of it,
yeah.
I think they would have. It's just you look at the way the shots are set up and framed. You look at the way, again when he's reading, he doesn't even acknowledge. Is it Malarkey reading to him?
I think it is Malarkey, yeah, because
Lipton... he doesn't even acknowledge him there. He just reaches over and kind of just crushes the letter down.
Yeah,
and then just he's kind of trapped up in his shell, and I think that's. Yeah, I think it's purely. I certainly think what the producers are trying to get across here is it's the emotional and mental impact that's gotten to him.
Yeah,
and that's what's taken him off. And I think I applaud the way they've shown it and done it in a way to, because again, it's very hard to remember sometimes that this is true events.
Yeah.
We think, oh, this is just fictional, but no, these really happen to people.
Well, I think that we've been treading carefully over that as well, because it can be very easy just to slip in, oh, he's an idiot, or he's done that wrong, or he shouldn't be like that, or he shouldn't act like that. But we haven't done that, I don't think. Because of that, because there are true lives behind this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think we've...
trying to, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Dyke is still a massive knob.
Oh, yeah, like you wouldn't believe. He's a strategically shaved scrotum.
Oh, dear. So, should we talk about the hang on, what was it? It was the Garnier and Toye incident then.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, again, Garnier especially has been one of those characters who throughout, he's got a voice, he's got a face. Yeah. You could pick him out in a crowd 100 miles away. It's just, he's so iconic to Easy Company and Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
And he's, yeah, and this is it. There's Joe Toye comes back, and again, Garnier's like, hey, you're back and all that, and they've got that great kind of camaraderie going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, we should just mention they can see the town from where their foxholes are. They can see the people in the town, without like binoculars and everything. They're visible, and then they hear there's shelling coming in, and this was why they were reinforcing their foxholes and digging new ones.
Yeah, because the Germans have them zeroed anyway, don't they?
Well, they had them zeroed because while they were away, I think they said, was it first platoon had been using the foxholes?
Yeah, they've been dumping in them.
Literally been dumping in the foxholes, yeah. But then again, as someone pointed out, I don't think anyone wanted to be above ground. And you just look at the trees, and there are no trees left, really. It's just stumps.
Well, that's the thing. There's that sweeping shot of all the trees, but like you said, there are no trees. It's just the tops of the trees have been removed, haven't they?
Yeah.
And you know that I'm not putting a foxhole around here because they've got me already.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. But so, yeah, anyway, the Germans open up with the 88s. And, you've got artillery fire coming down, mortars, whatever they're firing. No, it would be 88s, yeah. And everyone's like, take cover! And Lipton's, trying to get people into foxholes. And then the fight, there's a brief surge of activity, and then it stops, and everyone goes silent. But they don't want to get out because the Germans are hoping that when they go out to tend to wounded or think it's safe, they'll open up fire again and take out more of them.
Yeah.
And then you see Joe, and he just kind of looks down, and his legs like 2 feet away from him.
Yeah, that's one of the startling shots of this episode, I feel.
I think I know what the second one is.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think what you would actually think that was, but
I mean that's startling. But there's maybe it's not a startling shot, but there's a shot which, even thinking about it now, is making my spine crawl. And I'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe's taken a hit. He's gone down, and he plays shock really well. Like, he's got that kind of, his leg's gone, but he's like, I gotta get up. I gotta get my helmet. He's just kind of not quite with it.
It's almost as if he's talking about trying to get his helmet to take his mind off of what's just happened. It's a distraction, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And also, he wants his helmet on just in case he gets something heading towards his head. But
I don't think there's any conscious thought going on there at all. I think it's pure instinct is what's going on there.
Yeah.
And then, again, in the silence, Garnier hears him. He goes, "Is that Toye? It sounds like Toye," and runs off to go and find him. When he does find him, sort of thing, kind of just grabs him and starts trying to help him get back to a foxhole.
Yeah. No,
I
you'll
don't
be all right.
recall
You'll
it.
be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah, and was it Joe saying, "I told you I'd beat you back to the States," and Garnier saying, "Nah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine." Which reminds me. So straight up, when I was 13, 14, I broke my arm, and I remember it was when I was in the cadets, and the warrant officer came over and he goes, "No, it might just be sprained. It might just be sprained." No, it was a compound fracture. There was a bend in my forearm.
Is this the
It's
one where you fell down the stairs?
No, this wasn't an ice skating rink. This was my first time I broke an arm.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there was a bend in my forearm. And I'm
Oh.
like, does it look like it's effing well sprained? But, again, he said, what else are you going to say in those situations? Yeah, mate, you lost your leg. Sucks. But yeah, Garnier's kind of trying to carry him along. And again, it's like, look, if someone just came and gave him a hand. We saw it in Normandy. We saw it in Holland. You get one person each side of the shoulder straps, and you just drag them along. Piece of piss. It's easy.
Yeah.
But one man, it's just too much for him to do, and he's trying to get him along there, and he almost makes it. Again, he's almost to where Buck is, and they've started shelling again, and Buck's like, come on, get into a foxhole, get into a foxhole. And he gets up, like he said, to go and rescue them, or at least help them, just as that shell goes off. And as it goes off, there's a big explosion. They disappear into a cloud of smoke, fire, and flames. And then you got that overhead shot, and they're just lying in a pile together, both now missing legs.
Oh.
And it's, I thought I straight up thought they were dead at that point. The first time I saw this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, that's just messed up.
Well, it has that drama of Garnier getting out and helping him, and you're like, no, don't. I know you need to, and I know you have to, but this is not going to end well.
No, it's really, really not. And it's just so the shot for me, which makes my spine twingle, is kind of like the next scene when they're being, we find out they're still alive.
Yeah.
And Doc Rose there kind of fixing them up, and he's pointing over to Garnier and he goes, "Bill, you're going to go first, okay?" And Garnier's like standing there looking at his leg, saying, "Whatever you say, Doc." But he's shaking, and you can see the bit of flesh that still connects his boot to his leg is shaking too. Just thinking about that makes my fucking it's just,
yeah, it's grim, isn't it? It's
properly grim.
Did he lose his? At one point,
I don't know if he actually lost his leg.
It looks right. Okay, when we first see him and that overhead shot, it looks like he's lost his leg.
Yeah.
The second shot where it's twitching, you think, okay, maybe it's attached and you got a bit of blood flowing through it somewhere, but it's still off.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they go to pick him up on the stretcher, his foot kind of moves up towards as if it's been shredded. So I'm still in two minds as to what's happened.
I am going to look up that information as we speak, see if I can find it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those ones where that little bit of flesh there is kind of makes me.
Well, it's the effects are amazing.
Again, the effects are absolutely amazing. But what is great as well is they've still got that sense of humour where once he's being towed out, he goes, "See, Joe, I tried to get you back to the States."
See, I think that's important because in war movies, as some of our friends know, it is sometimes just dirty faces. They all look alike and you can't tell them from Adam. And yet Garnier, you can, like you said, you can pick him out. And you could pick him out from episode 1.
Oh, I found out about Garnier now.
Okay, what have you found out then?
He did lose his leg, I'm afraid. It was amputated later, and he was discharged at that point.
Right.
Which, to be fair, isn't all that surprising given how little of it seemed to be connected.
Yeah, that was... I'm reminded of either Watchmen, where Dr. Manhattan turns into a skeleton. That reminded me of that. Also, We Were Soldiers. Have you ever seen We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson?
Yep. Yes.
And there's a guy that gets picked up by his legs. And he's kind of toasted. And the people picking him up by the legs, their hands kind of go into the melted flesh. And imagine a kid playing with Play-Doh. That's what's in my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
What's
wrong with you?
But, well, at least they got out. And you're talking about the characters as well. It is good that they can still carry on that jokey stuff as well. They got the right spirit there.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. But and again, though, these are guys who we've seen that relationship grow from episode 1 onwards. You know, with them and Heffron and Malarkey, and again, all of the ones we kind of from the first episode, Curhi, united against Sobel.
Yeah. Can we move on? Because I know that there's another burst. Is that the second burst? There's a second burst, isn't there? So we won't go into that just yet.
So there was the first. No, that was the second one, because the first one was when Lipton was talking about how when he was a kid and he used to love seeing the fireworks on the 4th of July.
Ah, yes, yeah.
And that's the one when Joe gets hit.
Yep.
Because then he says, was that one? No, it was the second one when he's talking about the 4th of July, because he says, of course, I wouldn't have been laughing if I'd have known what happened to Joe. Yeah, so it's the first one who'd been hit, because Lipton was just talking, what does he say? It was the most awe-inspiring and terrifying display of firepower he'd ever seen.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, you felt it. Yeah, you really felt it.
Oh, yes, without doubt. And the way that his dynamic just shifts between I have no other reaction other than to laugh at this because I feel completely safe under this tree.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but also, well, I'm here now. Might as well enjoy it. It might be my last moment.
Yeah.
But good, because there is another couple of rounds that the Germans drop on them. We'll get to that in a minute, because we do lose a couple of decent guys there.
Yeah.
But I'd like to, because Speirs comes into this episode.
I mean Judge Dredd.
Yeah. And we get a little bit with D Company, don't we?
Very little bit with D Company, yeah. There's a couple of guys who are left behind with them to kind of just help short the lines.
Yep.
Who is it? It's
Christensen.
It's Perconte, Christensen, and Webb.
Yep.
And yeah, they're all now. And we kind of we're given a bit of a flashback again back to Day of Days and the cigarette incident,
which I love because there's so many stories about it still.
Oh yeah, it's still going on around. And I love the fact that Speirs knows about it.
And he feeds off of it, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. So much so.
His character is so wonderful. He's possibly my favourite character in this. When he turns up, he's so robotic at times, and yet he's got his head so screwed on. He knows he's playing everyone, and he's fucking with everyone as well. But not in a real bad way.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing with him is, okay, I'm going to say this. This might be a minor spoiler, so you might want to edit this out or not. But I'm going to say this: he's the only one who chooses to be a professional soldier. Like when you talk to everyone about what they want to do later on.
Yeah.
We hear, I'm going to go and, run a furniture store, or I'm going to go and hamburger joint, or I'm, everything like going back home. But Speirs wants to be a professional soldier. We find out in the last episode he wants to go to the Pacific Theatre.
Yeah.
And I think that's evident here. He wants to be in this war, not because he enjoys war, I don't think. Not because he enjoys killing, but I think because of what he's good at. Right. He's found something that he is really good at and excels at. And yeah, he's just, like you said, he's like a machine. That when he's running to relieve Dyke.
Yep.
He's like the fucking Terminator, the T-1000.
Yeah, he is.
And the thing is, there's no question, there's no clarification, there's no pause. It's the way Winters goes to run off to relieve Dyke, and Sink goes, "Winters, you a battalion seer, you stand here. You're not allowed to do it." And then Winters he goes, "Speirs, get over here!" And he runs up and he goes, "Go and relieve Dyke and lead that attack." And he just goes.
Yeah.
There's no question for clarification. There's nothing. He just gone, and he just runs like T-1000. He's just thump.
That's the thing that I know. His head is perfectly still.
Yep.
As almost, I've got my target. I am running towards my target. He's like a fucking chicken. You pick up a chicken and wiggle it around, and its head would stay exactly where it is. And it's just brilliant, but it's also just very machine-like.
You wouldn't want him charging towards you with intent.
No. No way, man. And I love that little exchange between Winters, Speirs, and who's the other guy? The general
Nixon? Oh, Sink?
Yes, Sink. Yeah.
Colonel, not general, but yeah.
Sorry, Colonel. And Sink is having to go at Winters. Winters walks back and then talks over Sink. Yeah. And it's like, look, I know what's going on. I'm sorting it out. Here we go. And he knows exactly what he's doing even before he said it. It's just brilliant. It's like clockwork. It works perfectly well. Everyone's thinking on the same page. Thank you very much. Go get the job done. Brilliant.
I'm just looking on the Wikipedia page for Speirs. He was actually in military training in high school. So yeah, this is a guy who I think this was, even if there wasn't a war, would have gone into the military anyway.
Yeah, this is what he wanted to do.
Yeah. But yeah, he was. Again, he later went on. He served in Korea after the war.
Oh, Jesus.
So he finished with one war and went and did another one.
As you do.
Yeah.
There was a nice softly spoken part from him as well, where he is talking to Christensen and the other two guys where they're digging in, and he says, "Okay, right, guys, don't forget to reinforce your cover." And the reply is, "Well, Dyke said not to because we'll only be here for maybe a day." And he looks at him and goes, "Is that what Dyke said?" "Yeah, okay, forget what I said."
Yeah.
Just walks off.
There's so much menace in his words.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
and
Dyke clearly knows better than me, so you guys do what you want to do.
And then he turns around and goes, "Cigarette?"
Oh, that's
and
brilliant.
I swear they all shit themselves. They're like,
oh, fucking hell. I would crap my pants at that. I'd be like, uh-oh, he knows. Yep. We know what that means.
I'd run to the German line saying, "I surrender."
So much menace in such a beautifully delivered line. It's just no.
And it's just. We've made a joke about calling him Judge Dredd or a judge, but he really does have that. With the helmet kind of down there, there's no expression on his face. He's just, honestly, he would make an excellent judge.
Yeah, I think he would. It's the first thing.
Producers out there doing the Mega City TV show, you want to get this guy.
Yeah, when is that coming? Is that coming out soon, or is that still in?
It's going to be at least a year. But Matt, settle. There you go. Get him in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Really, he'd be a great judge.
Yeah, definitely. So we've introduced Speirs into this episode then, but
what an introduction he has.
Yeah, and then Easy Company are taken back to the tree line again, where they've had a couple of days off from that line, and they
moved away from overlooking the town of Foy.
Yeah.
So and now, anyone listening, following along, we're kind of going back earlier into the episode, but this is the location where Garnier and Toye get hit.
Yeah.
It's the foxholes overlooking the town of Foy.
Yeah. We're not doing it linear. What's the word I'm looking for?
Linear.
Yeah, that'll do. Anyway, yeah, we're doing it a little bit different this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we talk about the second barrage? The real big barrage, and we lose a couple of guys in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that happens a bit later on. And who is it Lipton who nearly gets, or was it Luz? I can't remember who it is who's trying to get to the foxhole. It's Luz. Yeah. You know, again, second a lot open fire. Luz caught out of position sort of thing. And, you know, he's trying to get back into a foxhole. And they're thinking, come on, you're almost here. And when he's about, I don't know, less than 6 feet away, bloody shell lands in the foxhole.
Yeah, this is Penkala and Muck, isn't it?
Yeah. And they're gone.
Yeah, there's hardly anything left.
Yeah.
This is brutal. This is really brutal. Do you know, when I very first saw this episode, this really shocked me.
Yeah.
Because it was 1 minute, because they're not favourite characters of mine, but I think at the time I was getting to recognise these guys, and have them snatched away, one, in this episode, two, just in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
1 minute they're there, the next minute there's nothing. It's just so shocking.
It's, yeah. But then, you know, again, Luz, you see, so I was at two minds at this point, right?
Yeah.
What are the odds of a shell landing in the exact same spot again? You might think, that's a pretty safe foxhole to be in right now. But equally so, that's a foxhole full of pieces of my friends.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he didn't. But he got into the foxhole with Lipton. And a shell lands in the literally lands in the hole, but it's a dud. And it doesn't go off. And you got that great bit where Luz is putting a cigarette in his mouth, and then Lipton takes it and he goes, I didn't think you smoked. He goes, I don't.
Looked like I chose the wrong day to give up smelling glue.
Yeah. Looked like I picked the wrong day to quit amphetamines. Yeah. It's, yeah. And that seems to be a trait after that. Every time we see Lipton later on, he's got a cigarette in his mouth. So
yeah. Well, there is a scene just before all hell breaks out, because we are talking with all of these guys. We are laughing and joking with all of these guys.
Yeah.
Because Luz is doing his impression of Dyke coming over to Lipton and saying, mm-hmm. I'm going to go for help.
Yeah.
He's doing all that. And we're all laughing with him. We're laughing with Luz. We're laughing with all the other guys. And we just have our hearts wrenched out of our bodies with what we've just seen. It's like so powerful. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man, just give us a break. Stop taking our favourite characters away from us.
Yeah. And that's the worst thing is these aren't characters. This is real. This happened.
Mm.
And it's just like, I can't even imagine, you know?
Just going back a little bit, Dyke's face when he comes over to Lipton and says that he's going to go for help, he's got the comedy hair standing up on end and sooted face, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I get it. And yeah, it works for me. But there's also a bit of a comedy. Maybe he's turned into a bit of a comedy character. Or
yeah,
we're not laughing with him, we're laughing at him.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But even so, it's one of those ones we're laughing at him, but it's kind of a laugh of it's the laugh of desperation almost. It's if you don't laugh, you cry.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are with that.
Yeah.
We also get a little bit just after all of that where Malarkey's is really upset by the deaths of, Picala and Muck, and also what's gone on with Garnier and everything. So Lipton gives him the Luger from the beginning for his kid brother.
Oh, that's
with the sage advice of, be careful with that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it does find a home in the end.
It does find a home. Yeah. At one point I thought Dyke wanted it because he asked Winters. He asked Lipton what's going to happen with it, and he says, "I don't know. I thought Dyke was going to ask for it himself."
Would you put it past him?
I think it might have been what he was alluding. Maybe that was why he struck up the conversation.
Okay.
He was hoping Lipton would have just said, "Here you go, you can have it." And when he didn't, wasn't interested anymore.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, because he was cleaning it at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Ooh, cheeky. Could have been.
Maybe so. Yeah.
So at this point, we've lost at least four main characters. No, 5.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you include Buck.
Yeah. Okay, 6 then. 6 main characters at this point.
Yeah.
And yet we've still got another 25 minutes of this episode.
We've still got the main attack. This isn't even the attack yet. This is just the build up to it.
Yeah. And this is the second half of this episode where we've had all this digging in and foxhole story that we've been going through, and we had that in Bastogne as well. And so now we're kind of progressing the story on now from here, because they are on the tree line, and it's the morning of the attack.
Yeah.
And so we have Winters, because we can still see Winters having reservations about Dyke.
Yeah.
And we know how much he loves Easy Company, and he knows from all the other people that he's spoken to that Dyke is probably not the best person to lead them in, but he has no choice but to send him in. And he said, no, he will be there.
Because we had that scene with Lipton, who has gone out of his way to never say anything but good things.
Yeah.
About everyone. Voice his concerns. And you know that if Lipton's saying it, there's something there. But again, the unspoken thing between Winters and Lipton is they both know what the situation is, but they know there's nothing can be done about that. But what I quite like about when Winters is giving Dyke the briefing is he takes the extra time, gives it personally, tries to make sure he clearly understands what's going on, and then says, like, I'm counting on you, He really tries to big him up. Yeah, as if maybe the reason Dyke has been faltering is he hasn't been getting the support, maybe. Winters is still being a leader of men at this point. Even though he's got reservations about the guy, he's still giving him his all.
No, very, very much so. He's the leader of men, isn't he? He's the ultimate badass.
Yeah.
But with his badassery, he also has that compassion and understanding of people and situations as well. And he knows what they're going into. He's done it. And yet, would he trust his life with Dyke? I don't think he would, but he has no choice but to trust his friends' lives with him.
Yeah.
So it's a balance. And he says to him, just keep going forward. And what does Dyke do when they get out there? He stops.
Well, yeah, he kind of they do the charge, and then the shelling starts, and that starts raining down upon them. And he tries to get into cover and everything. And yeah, he straight up has PTSD at that point. He gets shell shocked. There's a bit where this is the first time we see Jack Foley as well, who is played by Jamie Bamber, or Captain Apollo, to all you Battlestar fans out there.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Captain Apollo's in this one. So he Dyke's on the radio telling Foley to, get back here and get what I can see and all that. Even though Foley's doing the mission, doing what he's supposed to be doing, and then he's in that really awkward position of, I'm supposed to be advancing. My commander is telling me to retreat, but that's going against what the mission is. It's just. There's indecision. They're stuck there. Lipton's, trying to get Dyke on board. You got Winters on the radio screaming at Dyke to keep going, press forward the advance. You can't stay there, you can't stop. And then then Dyke's like, oh well, let's flank them, let's go around the side and stuff like this. It's like, you mad? It's what the hell? And that's when we get that great moment with Winters. Winters starts going to charge, and Sink just tells him, "Don't you fucking dare!" And then he just, Speirs, kill.
Unleash the dragon.
It's like it's unleashed his attack dog. But the great thing is when Speirs gets up there, instantly assesses what's going on, and he just really calmly just says, "I'm taking over." And there's no yelling, there's no berating, there's nothing. He just looks at him and just goes, "I'm taking over," and instantly gets things back on track.
Well, yeah, Lipton looks at him and he goes, "Right, okay, forget about going around the side. I want you to remove that sniper from that roof. I want that gone." And as soon as he goes,
I want mortars on that building until it doesn't exist. Yeah. I love that line.
Yeah, and then just everyone else follow me, and he's off. He's so clinical about it.
He's off, and he's leading from the front, which I don't think something Easy Company's had since Winters was with them.
No,
and it's just again, there's that great bit where they need to link up with I Company, and again, Speirs could send a runner. Speirs could say, "I can't link up with them, it's not doable." Because again, there's 2 German tanks there, there's soldiers with 88s, there's everything there, But he just fucking shoots off down the middle. T-1000 just runs down the middle of them all.
Yeah, you get the narration from Lipton as well, don't you?
Yeah.
In this, where it's the German officers, the Germans weren't even shooting at him because I don't think they could believe exactly what they were seeing.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were seeing at first.
He's just running past them. He's running past tanks and infantry, and then hops over a wall. And then Lipton's saying, "The amazing thing is that
wasn't the amazing thing, though. Yeah, the amazing thing was, though, once he'd linked up with a company, he came back." Which was probably bordering on suicidal at this point.
I love this guy. I want him. I don't want a van anymore. I want him to carry me to work every day. He is brilliant.
Yeah, he's just fucking awesome. And again, he runs back, links up with them and all that. And again, as Lipton says, we finally have a leader that we can follow, that we can respect. It's like, yes, we've got a good commander with us now. And yeah, effectively they take the town. And then you've got that other bit afterwards where, everyone's gathered around the tanks singing as a sniper starts picking them off.
You bastard.
And you get that bit, yeah. Oh, you utter bastard. And you get that great bit between Lipton and Shifty Powers of, okay, I'm going to run. Don't miss.
Well, yeah, that's already been secured though, isn't it? Because we know that he's going to be the great kill shot, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Lipton just takes a run across the park, takes the sniper's eye, and is it Shifty?
Yeah.
Takes him out.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. You're not expecting that action there. That's kind of like a little bonus aperitif for you. Really,
it's a shock though, because again, the battle is over. They've got the prisoners now. They've taken the town. They're singing. They're filming it and all that, and having a laugh.
That's right. They're filming it, aren't they?
Yeah, that was the thing we had earlier when Joe Toye turned up. Someone asked him, "How does it feel to be rescued by Patton?" In which he said, "We didn't need fucking rescuing." And then Winters calls him over and he goes, "I'm sorry about that." He goes, "What about Patton?" "Absolutely not. You're absolutely right. We didn't need rescuing."
Yeah. There was a couple of things I wanted to mention. There was Dexter Fletcher, John Mine. He's in a couple of these scenes where they're advancing. And I think he goes to get one of the privates, who's one of the replacements, who we met earlier on, who I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was Malarkey or Luz was talking about everyone else's injuries. We were getting a kind of montage of the injuries.
Yeah.
And that was the private that ended up getting killed at the cart that they were all hiding behind.
Yeah.
Who gets shot in the bum as well, because
that's an Easy Company tradition.
Yeah. Bull is carrying him. It is going through the names now. I can't see his face. Hang on a second. I will find him. Oh, Piconte. Picote?
Piconte.
Yeah. He gets shot in the bum.
Yeah.
And then we have Buck carrying him along. No, Bull. Sorry. Bull carrying him along.
Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the end of the action. I will say at first I thought Dyke was killed because you see a tank fire on the hay bale and it did seem to explode.
Mm-hmm.
And although it's not really made clear in the episode, he did survive the war. So after Easy Company, he became an adjunct to a general. So I think his high flying career stalled after that.
What a surprise!
Little bit.
I think when I first saw this, I thought that Dyke may have died behind that hay bale, as you just said.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now, I think that is just to represent the danger that Dyke put them in. Look, they knew exactly where they were. They were behind that massive hay house, and they took it out. And if you hadn't had Speirs come along and move them along, they would have been wiped out.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely the case there. But then after that, we get to probably one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire series, in the convent.
Yeah.
The choir singing there.
Oh man!
And it's just such a well shot and well done scene where Lipton's. We see all of Easy Company sitting in the pews listening to this beautiful music. It almost seems like a version of the theme. I don't know if it is, I can't remember, but it kind of has that feel to it.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about we went in with 145 and only 63 coming out, and all of a sudden as he mentions people, they start to fade, and it's then you realize that, oh wait, no, you see Garnier's there, Toye's there, Buck's there, Hobbler's there, all these people from Bastogne and from this episode were
Muck
sitting there,
and Pencala as well.
Yeah, and they just fade out, and it's just kind of haunting how the pew's just empty. And there's the line where we lost one good officer with Buck, but we lost a bad officer with Dyke. But we got a good officer out of it, so I think we were up in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a nice little moment between Speirs and Lipton at the end where he asks him about the well, Speirs says, "You want to ask me, don't you?" He goes, "About what?" "You want to ask me if the stories are true?" And he says, "Well, I'm pretty sure if you go back far enough, it would be two Romans talking about some Roman who I can't remember killing prisoners at the Battle of Carthage."
Yeah.
And then Lipton says, "Well, maybe those stories persisted because the general never corrected them." And then Speirs goes, "True, but maybe the general wanted the men in the Legion to think they were serving under the biggest badass, in the Roman army."
Yeah.
And, absolutely, there you go. You can tell Speirs is very aware of what it takes to lead men. He knows what they need to hear, what they need to know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's there. And then we find out that Winters has promoted Lipton to lieutenant. Oh, sorry, lieutenant for you Americans out there.
Yeah, well, we better go along with the American one because it is the Americans in this. But, it is lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. Yeah. I get so confused.
It's quite simple. Lieutenant is the correct way and lieutenant is wrong. But anyway.
But yeah, I think you're right. It's such a moving shot where you suddenly see people. It's like Back to the Future where people start disappearing and you're like, oh no. And then you get a final shot of, oh no, there's Pencala and Muck. And they're it
was like an epilogue though. It was like, after the high action of the entire episode, all those gut punches and everything, it's just this little moment of beauty. And it's a melancholy to it.
Yeah.
But it signifies, like I said, it's the end of the second act. We're in 1945 now. You know, the war only has 5 months left to run in Europe at this point. I mean, they don't know that, but we do.
Yeah, they don't know that.
But my point is, it feels like an end. We do have one final scene when they're in the trucks heading out, and as they go by 1st Battalion, they thank them for using the foxholes as toilets. And
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. And again, Lipton, you know, is just kind of sharing cigarettes, because again, you know, there was that great bit where Lipton says to Speirs about how, you know, it's been hard not having a leader, and it's going to be good to have one. I mean, Speirs says, well, we've had a good, you know, from what I understand, Easy Company's had a great leader all this time who stuck by them, kept the spirits up, you know, good man to have around and everything. And Lipton looks at him like, what? And he goes, I'm talking about you.
Yeah, you still don't know who I'm talking about, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, we all know.
Yeah.
We all know, but yeah. And then that's it.
That is it. That was one hell of a ride, that episode.
Well, I think that and Bastogne, that it's such heavy drama, isn't it?
Well, the funny thing is, you think of Band of Brothers, you almost always think of Normandy, you know, the airborne thing. But really, this is the defining battle of the series.
Yeah.
The defining action. This is what I think shaped Easy Company to what they are known as. It was this. And that's not to take away from, you know, Caratan or Normandy or Holland and everything like that. No, but I think this was where they were truly forged into that brotherhood.
Mm. Oh yes, so much.
There's that line at the end of the episode, which I think was from Stephen Ambrose, the guy who wrote Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna find it because I want to say it correctly.
Funny enough, I was watching the World at War series, going through that. He turns up in that as well because he's a historian.
Yeah,
he actually turns up as one of the talking heads in that.
Yeah,
which I was unaware of. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh, I know. Okay, dots are starting to connect again."
Yeah. So the quotes at the end of the episode were, "Beyond the wounded and the killed, every man at Bastogne suffered. Men unhit by shrapnel or bullets were nevertheless casualties." And then there's a line from Winters himself. "I'm not sure that anybody who lived through that one hasn't carried with him in some hidden way the scars. Perhaps that is a factor that helps keep easy men bonded so unusually close together." And I think that is the case. It is every man there suffered. Every single one. Even if they didn't have physical wounds, they still had the scars. And, you know, again, they were united by that. And that's kind of what kept them all together.
Yeah, too right. Right. So that's the end of the breaking point then?
That I believe is the end of breaking point. I think we've pretty thoroughly covered off just about everything on there.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well, we did have...
Like I said, a great episode. I just don't think I could call it my favourite.
Right.
You know, for me, with a favourite episode, it's one I could watch over and over and over again. I couldn't watch this right now.
Yeah.
It's just too heavy, man.
I get why you can't call it your favourite. I get why it is a brilliant bit of TV, though.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, this episode, more than anyone else, probably what cemented Band of Brothers as one of those shows which stays with you.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, we have got a little bit of feedback on the Facebook group. Should we run through that together?
Yes. Let us do the.
Have you got the group in front of you, ready to go?
I am accessing the database as we speak. I'm bypassing the firewalls and other hacker type speak because that is how we roll in it.
Well, we got a nice message. Sorry, this is all on facebook.com/Band of Brothers podcast, and you can find our little group over there. We did get a nice little comment from Mark McCallum, And he said he's very much enjoying listening to us waffle on. So much that he's binged listened and now up to Bastogne. He Saving Private Ryan was on the box last night. Blah, 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 blah. Hang on. No, I'm just going to start with that again. We got a nice little message from Mark McCallum. He said that he's really enjoying it. He's binge watching everything and he's giving us a 2 pommy thumbs up. So there we go. That's always nicer. So thank you very much for that.
I got one here from Robert Kruger.
Yep.
I think I'm pronouncing that right. And he says, "Hello guys. Was watching the Breaking Point last night and jotted down a few things about the episode. I hope none of these are spoilers. In all fairness, mate, at this point, the series is 16 years old? I think we're past the statute of limitations.
Yeah, it's fair game now.
It's fair game now. First off, due to the injuries to my nephew and several of his buddies, this is a hard episode to watch. Due to the injuries of Joe Toye and Wild Bill Garnier.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Dyke returns and leaves and returns and leaves and yawns a bit. That's accurate. The incessant shelling is something that hasn't been seen in other movies like The Battle of the Bulge. It's very true. Lipton shows what a great NCO can mean to an outfit, which is actually something which goes all the way back to, this is just me talking now, it goes back to the first episode when we were talking about Sobol and how good the NCOs were.
Yeah.
I think that's been true of Easy Company throughout. Are the stories about Speirs true? No one can say for sure, but as we'll see later, they grow into a bit of they grow a bit in the retelling. Also, if you open his uniform shirt, you see a big red S on his chest. and in his case, fortune favours the bold, and it seems the crazy too.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hearing this episode. Robert in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you for that. I think there was another little bit on there. No, that was that one. But yes, thank you for your feedback, sir. Much appreciated. And absolutely. Although for my money, I still think he's better suited as a judge than as a Superman, because Superman is just too goody-goody for Speirs.
We also have Philip Stenstrom. I think that's how we pronounce it, but we are British, so we are allowed to screw stuff
I
up.
think it's Stenstrom.
Thank you very much.
I could be wrong.
Okay.
I am also British.
And you are also allowed to screw stuff up as well. So that is the law. He says, for the breaking point, from the point of view of the Carwood Lipton, we get the summary of the physical and mental state of Easy Company. In the dramatic events of the Battle of the Bulge, we, the audience, get the perspective of a war-torn company trying to fight a stubborn adversary with nothing to lose. As the leadership of Easy Company is slowly cracking. It's breathtaking, gory, and sad to watch this episode, but at the end of it, there is some sort of redemption that brings back hope to the company. I'm clearly referring to the man, the myth, the legend, Lieutenant Speirs. The run at the end of the episode through the village surely bringing life to the legend of the Speirs, and life back to the Easy Company. With the risk of sounding too allegorical, in the words of Paconte, thank God for small mercies. Thank you, gentlemen, for this fantastic podcast. Keep it up. Yours truly, Philip. Well, thank you very much, Philip, and you are most welcome. We are, even if no one was listening to this, we'd still be doing this anyway, wouldn't we?
Oh yeah. Pretty much.
yeah. That's what we're like. So I think that was it. I don't think we had any emails. If we did, then we'll hit them again next week. If you do want to send any messages or anything like that, please pop along once again to facebook.com/groups/Band of Brothers podcast, and you can see when we're going to be recording. You can also leave your feedback on there, or you can also feedback to Rogue2Media. Yeah, rogue2media@gmail.com. I just need to get that square. Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, emails or Facebook groups, posts, you're more than welcome to feedback on them sort of things. Next time out, we have the patrol, which there's bits I remember. I know that there's boats involved. but that's around about it that I can remember on this one. It's one in between Why We Fight and the breaking point. So
I think it's overshadowed by those episodes. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But again, it's been a while since I watched it, so yeah, looking forward to seeing what's to what, and we'll get to that one.
Yeah, we'll reconvene and go at it with that one. So please, any feedback, send it through to the normal channels. Andy, have you got anything to promote while we're here? Maybe these listeners who listen to podcasts, they might want to find other podcasts that we're both involved in. So have you got anything that anyone might be of interest?
Oh, well, if listening to the pair of us ramble on about stuff, then you should definitely listen to Grand Prix Podcast. Which is at grandprixpodcast.com, is it?
That is correct, yeah.
Hey, and on Rogue 2 and iTunes and all those sort of places, where we pretty much just talk about Formula One all day long.
Yep.
Trust me, it's fucking awesome. You should check it out. It's great fun.
Yeah, it's just cars going round in circles, though, isn't it?
Oh, you wouldn't know from listening to us.
Yeah.
Just don't mention Monaco to me or Monza to him.
Yeah, and we're not allowed to mention Alonso either, so yeah.
I don't particularly want to at the minute.
No, steering clear of that. That's done. That's all done now.
Yeah.
And Space Doc as well you have.
Yes. Also Space Doc Jury, which is at spacedockjury.com and on Facebook and iTunes and all that sort of stuff, where myself and Lee and Peter talk about spaceships and argue a lot.
Yay! Which I love. You can also catch me on the Black Dog Podcast, which is blackdogpodcast.com. It's a film review show where four idiots get together and talk about films. And what other one do I do? Oh, Shonky Lab, that's right. Yeah, shonkylab.com. Completely went out my brain for a second then. Please pop along to shonkylab.com. It's a topic-based show where I choose a topic, we speak about it for an hour, 2 hours, whatever you like. It's all live as well, recorded live, so pop along to shonkylab.com and find out all the details over there. So,
I'll also just say, if you like Josh when he was with us last week, give LSG Media a try. Because they do stuff.
Yes. Go to libertystreetgeek.net or LSG Media on all the other social media networks. Please pop along there. They have great episodes on. They have the Science Fiction Film Podcast where they talk about science fiction film movies. They have the Walking Dead podcast, the Game of Thrones podcast. I think they've done Stranger Things as well. They've done True Detective. Just pop along there. Let them know we sent you. And that'll do. Yeah,
they got one about Alien Covenant. I'm going to listen to it later, and if it's anything other than damning, I will be sending a very stern letter to the editor.
I'm halfway through it now. I'm not giving out anything, but I'm halfway through it now. So yeah,
okay.
Pop along and let them guys know that we sent you. So until the patrol next time out, I'm going to say goodbye. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra. The Easy Company that we knew since Normandy.
Well, yeah, Easy Company is not Easy Company by the end of this episode, is it?
What does he say? 147 go in, 65 came out?
Something like that, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on.
145 went to the Bastogne, only 63 left.
Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know how to compute that. That's it. It's so scary.
I'll tell you what though. To the applaud the producers and the filmmakers and everything. You feel it though. I mean, you properly feel those hits. Both. When the whole Luger incident. I mean, we've been talking about the Luger incident for a few episodes now. But I mean, when it finally gets here, and it's such a huge deal, but it's kind of done and over so quickly. You just don't really have time to process it.
Mm.
And then later on as well, when Joe comes back and everything going on with Garnier and all that, it's just, and Buck. Oh man, there's just so many gut punches in this episode. But again, that ending, it's just like people who glamorize war, people who go around, going, I want to play soldiers, and and I get that, Band of Brothers as a whole is celebrating these very, very brave individuals who fought in a very just cause. But this episode, maybe even more than Bastogne, really kind of drives home why war is not fun.
Mm.
War is not something anyone should aspire to do. War is not something that you should think is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel today war is glamorized like that because of the Call of Duties and Modern Warfares and Medal of Honors, etc. It's just too easy to find a war game and jump into it, and most of them are brilliant. Battlefield 1 is just intense, and yet I know I wouldn't last 2 seconds, and it just highlights this.
Have you seen that film with Tom Cruise? What is it called? Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes.
I would literally be Tom Cruise at the beginning of that film. I'd be dead within 30 seconds. Just, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what's going on? Oh, okay. Yeah, just taken out. Yeah, this one has got so many moments in it where there's so many storylines that we've been following throughout the course of this show so far that come to either an abrupt end here or just hit home so hard in such a beautiful way.
This is definitely the end of the second act, if you will. We are now at the end of, when you talk about the 3-act structure in films, sort of thing, this is the bit right before you get into that final downhill slope towards the end.
Yeah.
And this is it. This is the big end of second act sort of bit. The all is lost moment.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if this wasn't based on true events, you'd never imagine they would allow so many characters to be killed off or written out at this point.
Do you know what? That is one of the hard things about this, because there are characters that are removed or are killed, and you think, well, hang on, no, quite enjoying that person.
Yeah.
As if they're kind of really breaking through, or I don't know. I suppose we'll talk about it later, but one of the guys gets removed from that, or he had a story in the last episode. You think, oh, do you know what? I'm kind of quite attached to that, and it's just bang, gone. That's it. Yeah. No more. You're like, yeah.
And it does some. I mean, there's some bits in there as well where they kind of throw you a dummy where you think, oh, things are fun.
Or you might lose a bit of the suspense.
It would. I think it would definitely hurt the drama to a certain extent. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we? We're 2nd of January, 1945, in the Ardennes forest in Belgium. We're
just above the town of Foy.
This is a carry-on from the Battle of the Bulge, isn't it?
Yes, it's still part of what was or came to be known as the Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
Towards the end, it's kind of like the last push to try and get the Germans back across the Rhine. It pretty much follows straight on from Bastogne. Like this is still part of that same action.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been pretty much following this for 3 episodes now, haven't we? Starting at Crossroads.
Yeah, that was when we started diving into it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, it feels so long ago as well.
But it has been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it has been. But yeah, it's such a, even for like hour blocks of TV, it still feels such a journey that we've been on. It feels like we've been in this forest forever already.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And every time I watch this, once again, I know it's on a film stage, but it still looks bloody cold. It still looks so realistic. If anything, this episode
at least,
looks more realistic.
It does, but at least they finally got their winter clothing.
Yeah, not a lot though, and not everyone either, because
no.
Well, we see Dyke just rubbing it in at some points as well, don't we?
Well, that's because Dyke is and people of sensitive ears would probably turn their ears away now. He's such a massive cunt.
He is. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I'll let you say that.
I'm look, sorry. After the last.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Band of Brothers podcast. I'm Elton, this is Andy as always.
Hello!
And we have the breaking point in front of us. This is my favourite episode of the whole lot, I think. We've reached it, I feel.
This is, for me, it is a great episode.
Yeah.
It might even be the best episode. But there are so many, if I could use the vernacular of the kids these days, so many feels in the episode. I don't think I could. I'm glad I know that because I will be using that. But now I know. But my point is, I don't think I can call it my favourite because there was some gut punches in here, and the bit at the end with the quiet. I know I'm skipping it, but it's possibly the best episode, but I can't call it my favourite.
Okay. That makes sense. I would say it is my favourite. It's not the one I've seen the most of, though. We'll get to that when that comes around. But this, it's almost 2 episodes rolled into one. I think it's the longest episode that they have.
It's almost a feature-length episode, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They try to cram so much in there. And it does feel like a 2-parter thrown into one whole episode. There's so much going on. Just so much.
Everything goes on and it's wow, yeah. Yeah, this is the you could almost say it's the last hurrah for turning around for that character. Oh, it's working out. Oh no. No.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Right.
I mean, I'll tell you what, let's just very briefly. So I don't think we're going to go through this scene by scene because I don't think my constitution could take it. But let's just set a scene, shall we? Where are we?
Well, let's do talking heads first before anything else.
Ah, yes, your infamous talking heads.
Yeah.
Your heads are talking.
Yes. There are some that I'm starting to recognise now and trying to piece together who it is and who it might be. I don't want to give away anything on that because I guarantee you I'm wrong. If any, my predictions throughout the whole year, and especially with you and certain other podcasts that we do together, my predictions blow and suck at the same time. And so I'm not giving away any ideas on to who I think is who, but they're talking about that they've seen death and they're talking about the way that it changes them dramatically, and you can see it in their eyes that it's not, they're just not just speaking the words, they're living it through their eyes as they're telling you. And
there's definitely a couple of shaky voices there, and fighting back some tears.
Yeah, and on this side of the screen as well, I tell you.
I don't doubt it, mate.
Yeah, well, when they're talking about death all over the place, they're just talking about bodies. People, dead people, there, here, there, and everywhere. And it really sets up this episode to, okay, yeah, they're talking about dead bodies. You're going to see a lot of them, or you might not find them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once again, they hit home. Honestly, I can't wait for the end episode where we get to find out who's who.
Yeah. Finally, we have captions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like it because it still keeps you guessing as to who's going to make it through. If they told you that this person made it through or that person made it through, then there would